Hi, welcome to Alpha Note, the channel where we break down big ideas into sharp, clear thinking. Today we're tackling a question almost everyone has asked at some point. What's the fastest way to build real, lasting wealth? Now, before we begin, a quick honest disclaimer. Speed and safety are not the same thing. The fastest path often carries the most risk. What we're exploring today is not financial advice. It's a map of how wealth actually gets built, and more importantly, why most people never get there. Let's dive in. The Five and Furrow Method 1. High-income skills plus consistent investing. This one surprises people because it looks too simple. No gimmicks, no pitch, no overnight story. But here's what most people miss. Compound interest is genuinely one of the most powerful forces in finance. Imagine someone who develops a high-value skill. Software engineering, data science, medical expertise, finance. They earn a strong salary every single month. They invest a portion, not in lottery tickets, not in hype, in diversified, long-term assets. Done consistently for 10 to 15 years, the math produces extraordinary results. The reason most people fail at this isn't because the strategy doesn't work. It's because they upgrade their lifestyle the moment income rises. New car, bigger apartment, more treats, and suddenly the compounding stops. Wealth isn't about what you earn. It's about what you keep and how long you let it grow. Method 2. Buying an existing business. Starting a business from scratch is hard. Most fail within the first 3 years. But here's a different angle that most people never consider. What if you bought a business that already works? Small, unsexy businesses, a local laundry service, a plumbing company, an accounting firm. These are often run by owners who are tired, aging, or simply ready to move on. They have customers. They have cash flow. They have systems, even imperfect ones. An investor with $100,000 and good judgment can acquire a business generating $200,000 a year in profit. Add operational improvements and the value multiplies. The skill here isn't invention. It's evaluation, knowing what something is worth and what it could be worth. This is one of the cleanest, most overlooked paths to wealth. Not glamorous, but quietly powerful. Method 3. High-ticket sales. If you have no capital, no famous name, and no product to sell, but you can communicate with clarity and conviction, then sales might be your fastest legitimate path to wealth. Think about this. A talented salesperson in software, real estate, financial services, or healthcare can earn more than most surgeons. Without a degree, without a company, without an office. Here's why it works. The income ceiling is almost non-existent. Every deal closed pays a commission. As skill improves, deal size grows. As deal size grows, income compounds. The hardest part isn't learning the product. It's surviving the rejection phase. In the first few months, rejection is constant. Most people take it personally and quit, but the ones who stay, who treat every no as data, not defeat, they develop a skill that the market pays extremely well for. Sales is underrated, often overlooked, and one of the most honest meritocracies that exists. Dalpha Veyri. Method 4. Building a personal brand. We are living in a moment in history that has never existed before. A single person, with a phone and a clear point of view, can reach millions of people for free. That's extraordinary, and yet most people still don't take it seriously. Here's the insight that matters. A personal brand is not about fame. It's about trust at scale. When you consistently create content that helps people understand something difficult, whether it's finance, fitness, cooking, science, parenting, design, you build an audience that trusts you, and trust converts into courses, into consulting, into products, into brand partnerships. The mistake most people make is chasing virality instead of depth. One viral post does not build wealth, but 200 genuinely useful posts, compounding over 2 years, that builds something real. The barrier to entry has never been lower, which also means the barrier to standing out has never been higher. The answer is simple. Be genuinely useful and be consistent. Waver fineti to eso vods. Method 5. Software or SaaS. Solving one problem repeatedly. Here's a pattern worth understanding. The most scalable businesses in history have one thing in common. They solve a problem once and then sell the solution thousands of times. Software does exactly that. You don't need to build the next billion-dollar platform. Consider this. A small team builds a tool that saves HR managers 2 hours a week. It's not exciting. It doesn't trend on social media. But 3,000 companies pay $50 a month to use it. That's $150,000 a month in recurring revenue. This is why SaaS, software as a service, has become one of the defining wealth creation models of our era. The advantage is leverage. You build once, you distribute infinitely. The cost of adding one more customer is nearly zero. The challenge is finding the real problem, building something people actually use, and staying alive long enough to reach scale. But for those who do, the returns are unlike almost anything else. Gamma Method 6. Real estate development. Building where growth is headed. Real estate is one of the oldest paths to wealth for a reason. Land is finite. Population grows. Demand rises. But the real opportunity isn't just buying property and waiting. It's development. Identifying where growth is moving before everyone else does. Acquiring land or undervalued properties there, and building something that captures that future value. This strategy requires patience, capital, and the ability to read long-term trends. Where are people moving? Where is infrastructure being planned? Where is density increasing? The answers to those questions point toward opportunity. What makes real estate uniquely powerful is leverage. Banks will lend you money against property in ways they won't for almost any other investment. That means a relatively small amount of capital can control and profit from a much larger asset. It's slow. It requires discipline and patience, but real estate has made more ordinary people wealthy than perhaps any other single method. Why not? The real variable nobody talks about. Here's something worth sitting with. Every single method we've discussed has a different risk profile, different timeline, different skill set. Some people will read this and pick the fastest one on the list, but that's actually the wrong question. The right question is, which path requires the version of you that you can actually become? Because the honest truth is, most people don't fail at wealth building because the strategy was wrong. They fail because they never became the person the strategy required. The investor who stays consistent for 15 years, who is that person? The salesperson who survives 500 rejections, who is that person? The developer who reads market trends 3 moves ahead, who is that person? In every case, the path is not just a financial strategy. It's a personal transformation. And perhaps that's the most important insight of all. Getting rich is not primarily about finding the right opportunity. It's about becoming the kind of person who can recognize, execute, and sustain one. The methods exist. They have always existed. What's rare is the person willing to do what they require. What's rigged? See you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps more people find AlphaNote. Take care.